Hey there, everyone. Welcome. Can you believe it? We are at our final session of the Power Platform AI Global Hack. It's been a great ride. We've had a lot of sessions and we're excited about this one here. We're wrapping up everything that we've learned and having Steven to join us, which he'll come join us a little bit later. Just wanted to do a little quick recap of what we've did and learned so far. So we had some learning paths that you could walk through, and really the goal of this hackathon is to get hands-on with some of the co-pilots and AI features of the Power Platform. So we had a series of different sessions to get you up to speed on some of these different technologies. So we had our kickoff with VP of Power Apps, Ryan Cunningham, where he shared a bit about future and vision for AI in the Power Platform to get you started. We had a great session on co-pilots, specifically Power Pages co-pilots by Priya from the product team, and showed some of the new things that are coming there for low-code website development and how Copilot can help you there. We learned about AI Builder. So Gomo and Ashish talked all about AI Builder and how you can leverage that and the pre-built models, including create text with GPT, to get a lot out of that. We had another great session with Daniel and Robin, MVP from the community there, talking about Azure OpenAI Service and how you can extend what's possible out of the box in the Power Platform with Azure OpenAI. And of course, we had David on to show how you can submit your projects to GitHub. Now, of course, that isn't required, but it's a really good tool to know GitHub if you want to share what you built with the rest of the community on our Power Platform samples repo. And that leads us to where we are today, our wrap up and next steps. So Stephen will be kicking this off, and then we'll have the rest of the Power Platform advocacy team on later to remind you of next steps, because this is the last day of the hackathon. So we'll do a little logistics and housekeeping there to let you know what is next. But before we get into it, I just really want to thank everyone for attending these sessions and for your enthusiasm and involvement in the hackathon. We've had a great response, so really appreciate that. And we are very excited for our closing session here to have Steven Siciliano, the VP of Power Automate, with us to take his time to share a few closing remarks about the Power Platform and AI, and then do a live Q&A after. So welcome, Steven. So happy to have you here.
Great. Yeah, very glad to be in front of you all and to chat a little bit about AI and the Power Platform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a few slides just to talk about top of mind for me, but we have plenty of time for Q&A.
Sounds
Cool.
great.
Just diving into it, when we think about the Power Platform and AI, you've probably heard this story many times before, but the fact of the matter is there's massive opportunity for building out applications, building out automation, all the things that people need to be more productive. And that's what's created what sometimes we talk about as this low code revolution. Gartner, of course, has indicated that we are a leader as Microsoft. But if you look at the speed that this industry is moving, just a couple of years ago, less than a quarter of all applications that were being built were low code. But now it's on track to be 75% by 2026. So this is really a massive acceleration of what is going to be a massive trend. But what's interesting, I think, about low code is not just the fact that low code has been around and that it's growing and that it's getting better, the fact that there's this massive time to value, but it is specifically everything that's happening around AI. We are entering a new era of big AI, and that's really transforming the way that everybody is working. People who are building applications with low code, or people who are just using applications with low code, people who are using Power Automate or Power Virtual Agents or Pages. So there's really a couple different aspects to this that I think are really important. When we think about what is the manifestation of this in low code, well, it really starts from the idea of the Copilot, and I'm sure that as a part of this hackathon, you all have had a chance to play with the Copilots. You've seen a little bit about how AI can act as a collaborator to what you're doing, and that's really Microsoft's philosophy. Is we are using AI as a way to help people to be more productive, to help people, spend time thinking about the broader business problems and less about the those individual tasks that you may be trying to do when you're building an application or building a bot or building a website. So this is something that I think is really, really interesting because uh, back in the day, people may have thought about, hey, AI is going to replace the types of things that people are doing. And certainly today it's replacing certain tasks. But what it's really about today with Copilot is augmenting, enhancing, being that collaborator, so that way people can build things out much more easily. And if we look at the types of technical skills that people historically needed for building things with the Power Platform, I'd say it was comparable to Excel, right? So maybe a little more complicated than Excel, maybe a bit more powerful than Excel, but that was the type of technical skills. But now, with the ability to have co-pilots that sit alongside everybody building the Power Platform, it's kind of expanded to cover the full gamut of capabilities. People who can, not only use Excel, but even maybe some folks who don't have even experience with Excel per se. They can build things out now using just natural language. They can describe in text what they want, and then they get it. So this is something that is going to expand the audience. So that way, truly anybody can just show up at the Power Platform. Now, I'd say this is a little aspirational. We're not, necessarily all the way there today, and that's because a lot of these co-pilots are new, right? This is something that we have been, really working on for quite some time. We've been leveraging generative AI actually in some ways since 2021, and we're one of the first organizations in the world to leverage it, if not the first, that's really taking advantage of all of these generative AI capabilities. But when you look at the specific things that we've done in the past year, we've really, there's been a step change, is one way to look at it. Places that we've included these AI bots, which means that every single one of these, we're still learning, we're still growing, so they're in preview. But I am happy to say that in just a few days, in fact, we are going to start releasing these co-pilots to general availability. Not all of them. We're going to start obviously with the ones that have been around longer, but in the month of October, you're going to see these co-pilots GAing. So that's something that I think is really exciting. Like I said, I don't want to steal the thunder of the official announcements, but this is something that is really exciting for me, and not just me working on Power Automate, but this is something that's happening across the Power Platform. So we'll be some of the earliest in production scenarios using Copilot. But yeah, what that means is, we've reached a point now where we're really starting to learn, to understand, to see what people are doing, and we've now have the confidence that for some sets of scenarios, Copilot is production ready. That's something that I'm really excited about, and one of the ways that we know that is we already have 63,000 organizations that are using Copilot today. I don't know the exact number of monthly active users. I think it's well over 100,000. But there's this massive adoption, and this is how we are able to be here today and say, hey, we're just a few days away from releasing some things to general availability. Now, I've talked for a few minutes about Copilot. Copilot, of course, isn't the only way that we're using generative AI in the platform. There's actually AI all over the place. And one of the ones that I think is kind of most compelling is the generative answers inside of Power Virtual Agents. Hopefully, some of you have had a chance to play with this as well. The reason I love this is because it's really completely transformed the way that people build out a bot. Before, you had to build the dialogue, you had to create questions, answers, all those things. Now all you need to do is just paste in a URL. And the PVA generative answers will crawl the entire website, figure out everything that's there, and create a bot that is just automatically handling all of that. And if you have additional knowledge base articles, you don't have to, configure much extra dialogues. Literally, you can just drag and drop, just take the files, drop them right onto the bot in your browser, and it can learn all those things as well. So it's a completely different way of thinking about authoring. And, today we still have kind of the same ways of authoring for Power Virtual Aid, or sorry, for Power Apps and for Power Automate. You get the Canvas app, you get the designer, but we really are looking to take inspiration from what Power Virtual Agents has done over time and create, these higher level concepts that can really abstract away and, make much more AI powered experiences, much more AI powered automation. So a little bit aspirational there, nothing specifically concrete to share, but it's just some of the direction that Copilot is going in. And the other one that I think is really exciting, and hopefully, again, you've had a chance to play with these things as well, but it's AI Builder in the context of automation. And the reason this one is really interesting to me is because this is about how you can use the generative AI as a building block inside of the workflows, inside of the applications. So there's really interesting scenarios where you can literally, you just write whatever prompt you want to GPT, to large language models, and that can be a part of the workflow itself. So this is, I think, the most open-ended and it's definitely the most powerful aspect of using AI in the platform. And just like with Copilot, we're enhancing a lot of the capabilities here in AI Builder as well, to really make it much easier to use, make it possible to build out prompts, and those types of things. So just to wrap up my kind of top of mind here, what we are going to see is that by 2026, 85% of enterprises are going to be combining AI and human expertise in all the processes that are there. So think about how long it took to go from no PCs on any desk to PCs on every desk, or going from no PCs connected to the internet to every PC on the internet. That was 20 years to become prevalent, to become a reality. But for AI, this is literally just 3 years out that we're talking about. Think of the speed, think of the acceleration that's happening. And I know all of you who spent time on the hackathon, you're right in the thick of this. This is a really exciting place to be. This is, we talk about this as the age of AI. And with that, I think that's just what I've been thinking about recently. Hopefully, no surprises, but you're thinking along the same lines, and I'd love to open it up to Q&A now.
Okay. Well, thanks, Steven. This was really, really interesting. I really love the numbers that you brought on, because those are really showing off how interesting this whole AI thing is. We got a bunch of questions already. Of course, you dropped the bomb on the GA of the Copilot, or at least some of the Copilots. I already saw one comment, and I think the GA is for US regions, right?
So the way that Copilots work right now is they're dependent on GPUs, right? So we need to have the processors to run these large language models, and Microsoft as a whole, obviously, we have lots and lots of Copilots that are all trying to use those GPUs and do things. So we will not necessarily have everything available in every region on day one. So today the preview is mostly in the United States. I think there may be a couple other smaller regions that have the preview as well. But that is something that we are working on, and that in the course of the coming months, you are going to see it in more and more locations.
Okay, great. Another question that we had was, what is your favorite AI feature so far in Power Automate? And you already highlighted a couple of them, but what is your favorite? And I know it's hard to pick one.
Yeah, it is tough. I would say the one that has impressed me the most is the ability to make changes to a flow in the Copilot. So the natural language to flow, maybe it's been around long enough, because it's been around since October, that I'm kind of bored with it now. Not that it's not so cool, but it is very powerful. But recently I've been doing demos where I, tried to create like some conditional logic inside of a workflow. And not only did it understand the fact there was a condition there, but also understood which different actions to put on which different sides of the condition. So it actually like understood kind of where to populate actions and do those types of things. So I think that's something that really is a little magical, honestly. I don't know exactly how all this works. It's AI, it's magic, but that's the thing I'm most impressed by.
Yeah, that sounds really good. There was also a really good question by Elliot. Will we see a Microsoft Power Platform and AI career path in the future?
I think we're already seeing people who are building their careers on the Power Platform. And I think that every Power Platform developer is going to be using AI as a part of what they're building. So, I don't think you'll really need to call it necessarily a platform plus AI career path, because that's just every career path that uses the Power Platform is going to be using AI. So yeah, I think absolutely we're going to see that going forward.
Okay. What is the best use case you have seen so far with the Power Platform and AI?
Yeah, I think the one that is just simplest and very easy to understand is automatically responding and dealing with incoming customer inquiries. So if you have an inbox, you have people coming in, and you have that shared mailbox. Customers ask questions, customers have complaints, customers have support issues. What you can do with the generative AI in the Power Platform is you can prompt GPT and say, hey, here's what the customer has asked. Here's some additional information about the customer. Automatically generate a response for me. And it's not necessarily about sending that response back directly to the customer, because as I've been talking about Copilot, it's still important to have humans in the loop, to have humans who are monitoring, who are paying attention to what's going on. So one of the things that we do inside of Power Automate, for example, is we do have that approval action where you can review, see what the Copilot is suggesting, and approve or reject. But I think that kind of the idea of automatic generation of content, the simplest to understand is those customer inquiries, but there's all different types of ways to do that. Enriched and grounded in other data about the customer, that I think is the thing that is really the most interesting use case so far.
Is there also something we can do to make it better? Because of course we have all these co-pilots and they all work on our input. Is there anything we can do to make it better?
So when you're using Copilot, I would say, just because it is a fairly new thing, just try out a few different ways of doing the same thing, and you'll probably get a little better results, right? So basically, don't give up on the first try if you don't get exactly what you need. Be comfortable iterating a little bit, because it does, as you go through in a given session, it is learning about what you're asking and what it's doing, right? So it's not necessarily fire and forget, one shot done. It's that chat history is helping it to understand what's going on. So that would be my recommendation in terms of getting better results, is to really just spend the time to work with it, try different things. That type of thing.
Yeah. Are there also any plans to enhance Power Automate Copilot for more experienced users of the Power Automate product?
Yeah.
For instance, the more complex connectors, or maybe even custom connectors. You know that I'm really a big fan of custom connectors. So what is going to happen there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are continuing to enhance kind of all the different aspects of the Copilot. So today, Daniel, as you're alluding to, we don't really support custom connectors very well. There's some various limitations. So every single week, you're going to see some of those limitations adjusted. It takes time to fine tune some of our models. So it's just a process. But yeah, like custom connectors specifically, that's one that's really interesting that we're working on. I think one of the other things that we're enhancing in Copilot is today, Copilot is very much focused around the initial authoring of a process. So you build your flow, and then you have your flow, right? It doesn't help you in the ongoing maintenance and running of the flow. So that's where kind of one of the next general areas we're looking at. And again, I don't want to steal too much thunder of future announcements, but we are looking at how, once you've built a flow, how could Copilot help you to debug, to understand what's going on, to really identify potential errors, and those types of things. So that's a future area of investment for us.
Okay, and one of the obvious questions, licensing. How is that going to work?
Yeah, so the philosophies that we have with the Power Platform is that we don't charge people to build things; we charge people to run things. And that distinction is a little clearer with Power Apps, right? Because you have almost always a small set of makers and a large set of users for the app. But what that means is, if I take Power Apps as an example, we don't want to charge people just to build an application, right? And the Copilot functionality, where it's a maker feature, that is very much helping people to build better apps. And we want there to be better apps out there, because the better apps that are made, the more likely people are to want to use those applications, right? So we are intentionally saying that we don't plan on charging for the maker functionality for Copilots. Similarly with Power Automate, although it's a little murkier, because generally the person building the flow is the person running the flow. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about authoring workflows, yeah, we want the Copilot to just be there for all the users. Now, there is another aspect to these generative AI capabilities, which is using the generative actions inside of the workflows, right? Or inside of AI Builder, having a chat conversation as a user of the application, right? You can embed ChatGPT into an app. For those types of things, we are going to charge for them. And our current plan is to reuse all of the existing infrastructure that's out there, namely AI Builder. So the AI Builder credits are going to be the way that we will charge users for taking advantage of those AI capabilities. So there won't be a complete new separate set of purchases or things like that. It'll just be use your AI Builder credits. And the reason we're doing that is because, well, I mentioned those GPUs. It's actually very expensive to run these AI models. So we can't afford for somebody to create a flow that runs 1,000 times an hour, calling generative AI. That's using a lot of GPU capacity. So we do have to have some sort of rate limit there, and that's what something like AI Builder credits provides.
Okay. Another question is, we worked so hard with the generated text with GPT to get specific answers, and we studied the prompt in details, but the result is always changing. Mm-hmm. Do we have some way to control the answer of GPT?
This is the double-edged sword of AI, which is, on one hand, it's very, very flexible, which means that it can respond to all different types of problems. But the flip side of that flexibility is that means it is non-deterministic, right? It's not necessarily, if you make a very small change to a prompt, if you change one letter, you can potentially get a very different answer. And what that means is, it's important, at least with the current implementations, that there can be things like humans in the loop to control what happens with GPT. It depends on exactly what you're using it for, right? If you're just using it to, populate a SharePoint list with a summary of a document or something, like, that's internal process. It's fine. You don't need to worry too much about that. But if what you're doing is generating something that is going to be customer facing, that's important to have a human take a look at it. But the this is kind of the nature of the technology, is that slight changes in the prompt can result in significant changes in the output. And prompt authoring, prompt engineering can help with this. So you can be more verbose in the prompt and stricter with what you ask it to do. And you say, this is the exact format of what I would like my response to look like. And you can put that in the prompt. You can say, I want, one sentence on one line that describes this, and then a second sentence on that line that describes that. You can say that in the prompt. And then generally, although it's not perfect, the AI is going to follow those rules. So I think that's one recommendation I would make there is, if you do need a stricter format, be sure to ask the AI about what that format is, or tell the AI. Don't just expect that if you build it once and then you make a change to the prompt that you're going to get the same thing out again.
Yeah. Okay. Another question by Chris Ferraro. Do you see Power Platform Copilot maturing to allow those with zero knowledge of the tools to build with just natural language? That's an interesting question.
Ultimately, yes. Today, I think that having some knowledge of the tools is very valuable. And that's why when you go to powerautomate.com or powerapps.com, there's a nice learning tiles right there for helping people to get started. But already what we're seeing is with Copilot, technically you don't need to have a lot of knowledge for the tools. Like, we try to do things that you can guide the user to learn a little bit about, Power Automate, well, this is what a trigger is, that's what actions are. So we are going to spend more and more time on achieving that goal that you mentioned, of really, you could show with zero knowledge of the tools and be successful. Candidly, I don't think we've completed that journey yet. I think it's something that we're still working towards, but it absolutely is where this is going.
Yeah, so maybe in the future we will see just a natural language prompt and no flow editor, just for the advanced users, the flow editor.
Something like that could happen, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and as the last question, Chris Ferraro also asked, what is the best advice to grow in this space outside of your day-to-day job?
I think the biggest is just to spend time learning, reading, watching videos or blogs or listening to podcasts. This space is moving so quickly that it's a little hard to keep up sometimes. With OpenAI and Microsoft, we have GPT-4. It sounds like what Google is working on is going to be really interesting as well. Obviously, Apple and Facebook and all these companies, they're all doing very interesting things. So this is something that's a whole wide industry trend, and every company is going to learn from every other. So my recommendation, outside of the day-to-day, is just spend time reading, seeing what else is out there, understanding how people are using it, just from the internet, and you'll never cease to be amazed at the things that people are doing. That's at least what I've learned, is I'm always amazed with the types of things people are building up.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that. Thanks a lot for all your insights that you gave during the presentation, and also all the answers that you gave to the Q&A. We are all looking forward to what's coming next, of course. And I think a couple of people in the chat also mentioned that they will be at Microsoft Power Platform Conference, so they might run into you at one of your sessions. So that will be really good.
Sounds good.
Okay. Have a nice day, and talk to you later.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes. Okay, so we will switch to the next part. And that's a couple of numbers, because we have been working on the Power Platform Global AI Hack. You all have been hard at work. You have been following sessions, creating great solutions with AI and Power Platform. And it turns out that there were 1,956 registrations in total for the whole hackathon. So that's a really, really, really large number. The submissions, we don't know yet because they are still coming in. So make sure to submit your solution at the end of the hackathon tonight. We had 6 live sessions where this is one of, but we had 5 before this as well. And they all gathered around 13,000 views in total. So for the logistics again, you were able to hack solo or in a team of maximum 3 people. The submissions are due today at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And you can submit your project at the URL that's highlighted here. For the submission requirements, you have to have a solution description and team member info so that we know who are all part of your team. You need to have a link to your solution so that we can download it and we can see what's in the solution, what you all did. And also, we would love to see a video of that solution. So demoing the basics of your solution and what you learned using AI in the Power Platform. And that should be less than 5 minutes long. For the award categories, we talked about this at the kickoff already, but we have a couple of categories where you can win prizes, lots of prizes, and Gomo will talk a little bit later about that. But the award categories that we have is the best Better Together solution, and that brings together all kinds of parts of the platform. It can be Power Platform, you can do Microsoft 365, Azure, all those kinds of things as well. Next, we have the best AI-powered solution, which of course highlights the best use of AI. And then we also have the best diversity, equity, and inclusion solution. So if you have done something in that area, and we see that in that solution, you will be the winner. Or if you have the best solution there, you will be the winner of that category. And then to top it all off, we have the big prize winner, and that's the overall winner, and that's the grand prize winner. So with that, I covered the categories, but I'll move next to Gomo, because Gomo, you have something to say about the prizes, right?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Daniel. And yes, coming off the back of the awards categories, remember that you have amazing prizes for the lucky few, including a $75 gift card for winners of each category, as well as a $150 gift card for the grand prize winner. We also have the best swag in tech up for grabs. And with all the Power Platform socks and shirts, we also have an amazing backpack reserved for the grand prize winner. And of course, a digital badge will be given to everyone who submits an app, so you can proudly display them all on your social media. Now, something we did not mention last time is the fact that winners will get to demo their the projects that they've built in our amazing Power Platform community calls. Now, this is an amazing chance for you to show off what you've built to hundreds of people across the globe and to gain further recognition and praise for what you have done. Now, onto the next slide, let's speak about some of the judging criteria that we have. As you submit these projects, remember that we're judging on an equal weighting of innovation, impact, usability, and alignment to each of the categories that Daniel has just mentioned. So we want to see creativity in the apps that you build. We want to see apps that have the potential to actively make a major difference in a particular use case. Make sure that the usability of your app is effective and efficient. And of course, ensure that it aligns properly with your chosen category. Again, keep those in mind as you're waiting for the results to come out. And hopefully, as you've built your projects to satisfy these items and beyond. And finally, we have a couple of resources here for you as well. Get and stay informed, as everything we've just discussed can be found on the HackTogether website at the first link on screen at aka.ms/pp/HackTogether. And while we have the submission link on the website as well, just for a quick reference, the submission link is on screen as well for you to take note of, where you will also need to submit each of your projects before 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, which I believe is just over 14 hours from now. So make sure you're getting those submissions ready. We would also like you to fill in a survey to share your feedback about the experience that you've had over the last 2 weeks of this hack. We hope you've had an amazing time, and even if you didn't, please let us know and what we can do to improve for the next one. And lastly, our online forum will remain open for any additional questions that you may have regarding your project and anything else beyond today. So keep using that forum as a way to network and discuss and collaborate with other folks as well. We will also be there to address any issues that you might have. And with that, we'd just like to say thank you for being part of this hack, for watching all the live sessions, for taking part in the discussions and comments and in all of our forums, and most importantly, for taking the time out to build out what we believe will be amazing projects. We cannot wait to see what you've all built. And from everyone here behind the scenes, thank you and hope to see you again soon. Cheers.